The house is quiet. The street outside is entirely empty. The glow from the street lamp cuts a sharp, cold angle across the bedroom floor. You are lying there, staring at the ceiling, waiting for a physical threat that isn't coming. Your chest is tight, a metallic pressure pressing right under your ribs. Your jaw is clenched so hard your teeth ache. Your mind is racing through a catalog of potential disasters. An email you might have misworded, a conversation from 3 days ago, a financial collapse that hasn't happened, a sudden illness. You try to breathe, in through the nose, out through the mouth, like they tell you, like you've read in 100 articles, like you've practiced. It doesn't work. The pressure remains. You shift your weight. The sheets rustle in the dark. You look at the clock. 3:17 a.m. This is not a new feeling. This is an old, familiar companion. It has been with you in the background of your life for as long as you can remember. At the dinner table, during the morning commute, in the middle of a crowded room where you suddenly felt entirely alone. You think it's you. You think this is just who you are, a flawed machine, a nervous system wired incorrectly from the factory. You believe you are fundamentally broken. You think you are responsible for this relentless, exhausting hum of panic that dictates your choices, shrinks your world, and steals your sleep. But look closer at that fear. Look at the shape of it, the specific flavor of the panic, the exact words the voice in your head uses when it tells you that everything is going to fall apart. Listen to it. Does it sound like you, or does it sound like an old distant echo? You've spent decades running from a fear you inherited, not knowing it was never yours to carry. You have been hauling a rusted iron box through your life, assuming it was your luggage. You are about to stop. You are about to put the box down on the floor, under that sharp angle of street lamp light. You are about to turn around and see the long, silent chain of hands that passed it down to you, and you will realize, with absolute midnight clarity, that you are the one who can finally break it. The anxiety is real. Let's be clear about that first. It's not a character flaw. It's not weakness. It's not something you invented because you're broken or defective. The physical sensations are genuine. The racing heart, the shallow breath, the feeling that the ground beneath you is made of sand. Neuroscience confirms this. When your nervous system activates the fight or flight response, your amygdala floods your body with cortisol and adrenaline. Your prefrontal cortex, the part that reasons, that knows you're safe, goes offline. You are not choosing to panic. Your body is doing what it was designed to do. It's protecting you from a threat. But here's where the story gets complicated. You are lying in bed at 3 a.m. There is no predator. There is no fire. There is no immediate physical danger. Your nervous system is responding to a threat that doesn't exist in this moment. And that response has become automatic. It fires without your permission. It has become the baseline of your existence. This is where most people stop. They say, I have anxiety. I need to fix it. I need medication. I need therapy. I need to meditate harder, breathe better, think more positively. But you're going to go deeper. Because anxiety doesn't arrive in a vacuum. It doesn't spontaneously generate in your body like a random malfunction. Anxiety is learned. It is inherited. It is passed down through generations like a recipe, like a language, like a curse. Think about your childhood. Not the big traumatic moments. Those are obvious. Think about the small daily textures of your early life. The way your mother's shoulders tensed when the phone rang. The way your father checked the door lock 3 times before bed. The conversations you overheard about money, about safety, about the world being fundamentally unsafe. You absorbed those patterns. Your nervous system learned them. You didn't decide to become anxious. You became anxious by living inside an anxious system. This is what researchers call generational trauma, or emotional inheritance. It's not mystical. It's not poetic. It's neurobiological. Your parents' nervous systems shaped your nervous system. Their fears became your baseline. Their vigilance became your vigilance. And here's the part that changes everything. You didn't know this was happening. You thought the anxiety was yours. You thought it was your personal defect. You thought you were responsible for a fear that began generations before you were born. You carried guilt for something you never chose. But what if anxiety isn't your disease? What if it's your inheritance? What if the fear you've been running from your entire life isn't a personal failure, but a family pattern? A pattern so old, so automatic, so deeply embedded in your nervous system that you couldn't see it. It was like asking a fish to see water. Because once you see that anxiety is inherited, you can't unsee it. Once you understand that you're not broken, you're conditioned, everything shifts. The shame dissolves, the self-blame evaporates, and something else emerges: choice. If anxiety is learned, it can be unlearned. If it's inherited, it can be interrupted. If it's a pattern, it can be broken, not by fighting it, not by trying harder to be calm, but by seeing it clearly, by tracing it back to its origin, by understanding how it got into your body in the first place. This is not healing in the traditional sense. This is not about becoming a better version of yourself. This is about becoming conscious of what you've been carrying. This is about recognizing the difference between your fear and the fear that was handed to you. And that recognition is the beginning of freedom. But recognition alone is not enough. You need a map. You need to know how to trace the pattern. You need to understand the mechanics of how an inherited fear operates inside your body and your choices. The map has 3 steps: powerful questions, a list of qualities and inherited traits, a line of time. First, the questions. Not the surface questions, not "why am I anxious?" or "how do I fix this?" but the questions that cut deeper. Questions like, when did I first feel this way? Who in my family carried this same fear? What was I protecting by staying anxious? What would happen if I let it go? These questions are not meant to be answered quickly. They're meant to crack open the surface and let you see what's underneath. They're meant to pull the thread that unravels the whole sweater. Second, the list. You write down the qualities you inherited, the good ones and the difficult ones. Maybe you inherited resilience from your mother. Maybe you inherited hypervigilance from your father. Maybe you inherited a capacity for love and also a capacity for worry. You're not judging these qualities. You're naming them. You're seeing them clearly. You're separating what belongs to you from what was given to you. Third, the timeline. You trace the pattern backward. You see where it came from. You understand the conditions that created it. Your grandfather lost everything in a financial collapse. Your grandmother never felt safe again. Your mother was born into that fear. You were born into it. You inherited it without knowing you were inheriting it. This is the work of this alignment. This is where you begin to see the chain. This is where you stop blaming yourself and start understanding the architecture of your nervous system. The anxiety you've been fighting is not a personal defect. It's a family inheritance. It's a pattern that survived in your body because it was adaptive once. It kept your ancestors alive. It kept them ready. But you're not your ancestors anymore. You're living in a different world. And the pattern that once protected you is now suffocating you. The anxiety is real, but it's not yours alone. And that changes everything. Now we go deeper. We descend into the mechanism. How does an inherited anxiety actually work? How does it embed itself into your nervous system? How does it perpetuate itself across decades without you ever knowing it was happening? The answer is simpler than you think, and more devastating. Your nervous system is not a fixed thing. It's not wired at birth and then locked into place. Your nervous system is plastic. It learns. It adapts. It absorbs the environment around it like a sponge absorbs water. When you were a child, your parents' nervous systems were the primary environment. You didn't just observe their anxiety. You lived inside it. You breathed it. You slept in it. Your developing brain was literally shaped by their emotional state. Here's how it works at the neurological level. When your mother was anxious, Her body released stress hormones. You sensed that. Your nervous system registered it. Over time, your nervous system learned to anticipate that state. It learned to prepare for danger before danger arrived. It learned to stay vigilant. This is called co-regulation. Your parents' nervous system regulated yours. And if your parents' nervous system was dysregulated, if it was stuck in a state of chronic anxiety, then your nervous system learned to be dysregulated too. But here's the crucial part. You didn't know this was happening. You thought you were just being careful. You thought you were just being responsible. You thought anxiety was normal. You thought everyone felt this way. You didn't know you were inheriting a pattern. Think about the specific moments. Your father checking the door lock 3 times. Your mother's shoulders tensing when the phone rang. The way conversation stopped when you entered the room. The unspoken rule that the world was dangerous and you had to be ready. You absorbed all of this, not through words, through presence, through the felt sense of living in an anxious body. And then you grew up. You left home. You thought you would escape it. You thought that moving away or changing jobs or starting a new relationship would free you from the anxiety. But it didn't, because the anxiety wasn't in your environment. It was in your nervous system. It had become part of your baseline. So you carried it forward. You brought it into your relationships. You brought it into your work. You brought it into your children, if you have them. And the pattern continued. This is the invisible inheritance. This is how a fear that began with your grandfather's financial collapse becomes your 3 a.m. insomnia. This is how a trauma that happened generations before you were born becomes your body's automatic response. But there's another layer to this, because anxiety doesn't just live in your nervous system. It also lives in your story about yourself. You've built an identity around your anxiety. You've learned to interpret the world through the lens of fear. You've developed behaviors that reinforce the anxiety. You avoid situations that might trigger panic. You check things repeatedly. You seek reassurance. You plan obsessively. You try to control outcomes. All of these behaviors make sense. They're adaptive. They're your nervous system's way of trying to keep you safe. But they also reinforce the anxiety. They tell your nervous system, yes, the world is dangerous. Yes, you need to stay vigilant. Yes, you need to keep doing these protective behaviors. This is the feedback loop. The anxiety generates behaviors. The behaviors reinforce the anxiety. And the cycle continues. And here's where the story gets personal. There's a woman named Sarah. She's 42 years old. She spent her entire adult life struggling with anxiety. She would wake up at 3 a.m. with her heart racing. She would cancel plans because of panic. She would spend hours researching worst-case scenarios. She thought she was broken, but when she started tracing the pattern, everything changed. She realized her mother had been anxious her entire life. Her mother's mother had been anxious. Her grandmother's mother had been anxious. There was a lineage of fear running through her family like a river, and she had inherited it without knowing. Sarah's great-grandmother had lived through a war. She had lost everything. She had survived, but she never felt safe again. She passed that fear to her daughter. Her daughter passed it to Sarah's mother. Her mother passed it to Sarah. But Sarah did something different. She didn't just accept the pattern. She traced it. She saw it clearly. She understood that the anxiety wasn't her personal defect. It was her family's survival mechanism. It had kept her ancestors alive. It had kept them vigilant. It had kept them ready. And then she made a choice. She decided not to pass it forward. This is the turning point. This is where the mechanism becomes visible. This is where you stop being a victim of your own nervous system and start becoming conscious of it. Because once you see the pattern, you can't unsee it. Once you understand how it got into your body, you can begin to work with it differently, not by fighting it, not by trying to eliminate it, but by bringing consciousness to it. The anxiety is still there. Sarah still has moments of panic, but now she knows where it came from. Now she knows it's not her personal disease. Now she knows she can make a different choice. And that knowledge changes everything. But the mechanism is only half the story, because understanding how anxiety works is not the same as understanding why you keep choosing it. Yes, choosing it, because that's what's happening. On some level, your anxiety is serving you. This is hard to hear. This is the part that makes people defensive. But it's true. Your anxiety is protecting something. It's protecting you from a vulnerability that feels more dangerous than the panic itself. Maybe your anxiety keeps you from taking risks. And taking risks means you might fail. And failure means you might discover that you're not as capable as you believed. So the anxiety protects you from that discovery. Maybe your anxiety keeps you from getting close to people. And getting close means you might be abandoned. And abandonment means you might discover that you're not worthy of love. So the anxiety protects you from that discovery. Maybe your anxiety keeps you from pursuing your dreams. And pursuing your dreams means you might succeed. And success means you might have to take responsibility for your own life. So the anxiety protects you from that responsibility. The anxiety is a guardian. It's protecting you from something that feels more terrifying than the panic itself. And until you understand what that is, you'll keep choosing the anxiety. You'll keep choosing the familiar pain over the unknown vulnerability. This is the deeper layer of the mechanism. This is not just about your nervous system. This is about your identity. This is about the story you've built around your anxiety. You've learned to be the anxious person. You've learned to interpret the world through that lens. You've learned to make decisions based on that identity. And changing that identity means confronting the possibility that you might be someone else entirely. That's terrifying. But here's where Sarah's story continues. When Sarah started to understand the mechanism, she also started to understand what the anxiety was protecting. She realized that her anxiety was protecting her from her own power. Sarah's family had a story. The story was, "We are not safe. The world is dangerous. We have to be vigilant. We have to be small. We have to be careful." This story had kept her family alive. It had kept them from taking risks that might have destroyed them. But it had also kept them from living. It had kept them small. It had kept them afraid. Sarah's anxiety was the guardian of that story. As long as she was anxious, she could stay small. As long as she was anxious, she didn't have to step into her own power. As long as she was anxious, she could stay loyal to her family's story. But Sarah wanted something different. She wanted to live. She wanted to take risks. She wanted to step into her own power. And that meant she had to be willing to betray the family story. She had to be willing to say, "I am safe. I am capable. I am worthy." This is the real work. This is not about breathing techniques or meditation or positive thinking. This is about making a conscious choice to step out of the pattern. This is about being willing to become someone your family never imagined you could be. Not by fighting the anxiety, not by trying to eliminate it, but by becoming conscious of it, by understanding what it's protecting, by making a choice to step into something different. Sarah's descent didn't end with understanding. Understanding was just the beginning, because seeing the pattern is one thing. Breaking it is another. Breaking it requires something deeper. It requires a willingness to feel the fear without running from it. She had to sit with the discomfort of becoming someone new. She had to tolerate the guilt of stepping out of her family's story. She had to learn to regulate her own nervous system instead of waiting for someone else to do it for her. She had to practice staying present when her body wanted to panic. She had to practice saying yes to things that scared her. She had to practice believing that she was safe even when her nervous system was screaming that she wasn't. And slowly, over time, her nervous system began to learn a new baseline, a new normal, not through force, not through willpower, but through repeated experience of safety, through repeated experience of taking risks and surviving, through repeated experience of being worthy of love and connection. This is what real transformation looks like, not a sudden awakening, but a gradual rewiring of the nervous system. Now comes the practical work, because understanding the mechanism is not the same as changing it. Insight alone doesn't rewire the nervous system. Knowledge doesn't break the pattern. You need a method. You need a way to move from recognition to action. This is where the three-step map becomes real. Step 1. The powerful questions. You sit down with a piece of paper, or you sit in silence, or you speak into a voice recorder. It doesn't matter the medium. What matters is that you ask yourself the questions that cut to the bone. When did I first feel this way? Not when did I first have anxiety, but when did I first feel this specific flavor of fear? Can you remember the moment? Can you see it? The room, the light, the feeling in your body. Who in my family carried this same fear? Look backward. Your mother? Your father? Your grandparents? Your great-grandparents? Who was afraid? Who couldn't sleep? Who checked the door 3 times? Who worried about money? Who held their breath when the phone rang? What was I protecting by staying anxious? This is the hard one, because it means admitting that the anxiety has been serving you. It's been keeping you safe in some way. Maybe it's been keeping you from failure. Maybe it's been keeping you from success. Maybe it's been keeping you loyal to your family's story. What would happen if I let it go? This question opens a door, because letting go of the anxiety means becoming someone new. It means stepping out of the family story. It means taking responsibility for your own life. What does that feel like? What are you afraid will happen? These questions are not meant to be answered in one sitting. They're meant to live in you. They're meant to crack you open. They're meant to pull the thread that unravels everything. Step 2. The list. You write down the qualities you inherited, not just the negative ones, the full picture. From your mother, you inherited resilience, worry, the ability to care deeply, hypervigilance, creativity, the tendency to overfunction, sensitivity to others' emotions, the belief that love means sacrifice. From your father, you inherited determination, the need to control outcomes, the inability to ask for help, loyalty, the fear of being abandoned, the belief that vulnerability is weakness, the capacity to work without rest. From your grandparents, you inherited the memory of loss, the belief that the world is unsafe, the need to prepare for disaster, the ability to survive hardship, the tendency to pass down pain without naming it. You're not judging these qualities. You're not trying to separate the good from the bad. You're naming them. You're seeing them clearly. You're understanding that every quality you have came from somewhere. It came from someone. It served a purpose once, and now you get to decide which ones you want to keep and which ones you want to release. This is radical, because it means you're not a victim of your inheritance. You're not stuck with what was given to you. You're not obligated to carry forward what your family carried. You can keep the resilience. You can release the worry. You can keep the determination. You can release the need to control. You can keep the loyalty. You can release the belief that love means sacrifice. This is the beginning of freedom, not the end of it, the beginning. But here's what most people miss. They think that naming the qualities is enough. They think that understanding where they came from is enough. It isn't, because the qualities are not just ideas. They're not just thoughts. They're embedded in your body. They're wired into your nervous system. They're the default setting of your being. So releasing them is not a one-time decision. It's a practice. It's a daily choice. It's a moment-by-moment decision to respond differently than your nervous system wants to respond. When your mother's voice rises in your head telling you to worry, you have to consciously choose not to listen. When your father's voice tells you that vulnerability is weakness, you have to consciously choose to be vulnerable anyway. When your grandparents' fear tells you that the world is unsafe, you have to consciously choose to take the risk. This is the real work. This is where transformation happens, not in the understanding, but in the practice. Step 3. The timeline. You draw a line, or you imagine it, or you write it down. This line represents your family's emotional history. On one end, you place your great-grandparents, or your great-great-grandparents, or as far back as you can imagine. Your great-grandmother lived through a war. She lost her home. She lost her family. She survived, but she never felt safe again. She carried that fear in her body. She passed it to her daughter. Your grandmother was born into that fear. She didn't know where it came from. She thought it was normal. She thought everyone felt this way. She passed it to her daughter. Your mother was born into that fear. She didn't know its origin. She thought it was her personal defect. She passed it to you, and you were born into that fear. You thought it was yours. You thought you were broken. But now you see the timeline. You see the chain. You see that the fear that has been suffocating you for your entire life is not yours. It's a family inheritance. It's a pattern that survived because it was adaptive once. It kept your ancestors alive. But you're not your ancestors. You're not living in a war zone. You're not fighting for survival. You're living in a different world. And the pattern that once protected you is now suffocating you. This is the moment of choice. Because once you see the timeline, you can make a decision. You can decide to be the one who breaks the chain. You can decide to be the one who stops passing it forward. This is not about healing. This is not about becoming a better version of yourself. This is about becoming conscious. This is about making a choice. Sarah did this work. She sat with the questions. She wrote down the qualities she inherited. She drew the timeline. And then she made a decision. She decided that the anxiety that had kept her family alive would not keep her alive anymore. She decided that she would be the one to break the chain. She decided that her children, if she had them, would not inherit this fear. This decision didn't eliminate the anxiety. The anxiety was still there. But the decision changed everything, because now she was no longer a victim of the pattern. She was conscious of it. She was making a choice about it, and that choice gave her power. But the power didn't come from the decision alone. The power came from what she did after the decision, from the daily practice of choosing differently, from the moments when her body wanted to panic and she stayed present anyway, from the times when she wanted to cancel plans and she went anyway, from the moments when she wanted to retreat into the safety of her family's story and she stepped forward into her own. This is the practice of reclaiming your life. This is the daily work of breaking the chain. This is the moment-by-moment choice to become someone new. And it starts with seeing clearly where the fear came from. It starts with understanding that you are not responsible for inheriting it, but you are responsible for what you do with it now. You are responsible for whether you pass it forward or whether you break the chain. You have seen the machinery. You have learned the map. You have met Sarah. You have named the qualities. You have drawn the timeline. Now comes the threshold. Now comes the dark night. The moment where you must decide if you are willing to become someone entirely new. The question is no longer how this works. The question is whether you will cross, because what comes next cannot be undone. Once you see the chain, you cannot unsee it. Once you make the choice, you cannot go back. The only way forward is through. It's 3 a.m. again, but this time is different. You're not running anymore. You're not trying to breathe your way out of the panic. You're not researching worst-case scenarios or checking the door lock for the 3rd time. You're sitting with it. You're sitting with the anxiety in your body, and you're not fighting it. You're not trying to eliminate it. You're not trying to make it go away. You're just sitting with it. And as you sit, something shifts. You realize that the panic you're feeling right now is not your panic. It's your mother's panic. It's your grandmother's panic. It's your great-grandmother's panic. It's the panic of a woman who lived through a war and never felt safe again. You can feel it in your chest. You can feel it in your jaw. You can feel it in the way your nervous system is screaming that danger is coming. But you know something now that you didn't know before. You know that the danger is not real. You know that you are safe. You know that the war is over. You know that your ancestors survived. You know that you survived. You know that this moment, right now, in this bed, In this room, under this street lamplight, you are safe. And you make a choice. You choose to stay present with the fear instead of running from it. You choose to feel it instead of numbing it. You choose to breathe into it instead of holding your breath. This is the dark night of the soul. This is the moment where everything you've built your life around is revealed to be a lie. This is the moment where you see that the anxiety you've been carrying is not your personal defect. It's a family inheritance. It's a pattern. It's a story that was written generations before you were born. And you see the cost of that story. You see all the moments you didn't take, all the risks you didn't take, all the relationships you didn't pursue, all the dreams you didn't follow, all the times you made yourself small because you were afraid, all the times you chose safety over authenticity. You see the cost of carrying your family's fear. And then you see something else. You see that you don't have to carry it anymore. You see that you can set it down. You see that you can choose a different story. You see that you can become someone your family never imagined you could be. This is the turning point. This is the moment where the old self dies and the new self is born. It's not a comfortable moment. It's not a peaceful moment. It's a moment of complete dissolution. It's a moment where everything you thought you knew about yourself is revealed to be false. It's a moment where you have to let go of the identity you've built around your anxiety. And you do. You let go. You let go of the story that you are broken. You let go of the belief that you are defective. You let go of the identity of the anxious person. You let go of the need to protect yourself from a danger that doesn't exist. And in that moment of letting go, something happens. You forgive. You forgive your mother for passing down her fear. You forgive your father for modeling anxiety. You forgive your grandparents for surviving in a way that required them to stay vigilant. You forgive your great-grandparents for living through a war that never ended in their nervous system. And in forgiving them, you free yourself. Because forgiveness is not about them. Forgiveness is about you. Forgiveness is about releasing the grip that their story has on your life. Forgiveness is about saying, I understand why you did what you did. I understand that you were doing the best you could with the tools you had. I understand that you were trying to keep me safe, and I release you from the obligation to keep me safe anymore. I take responsibility for my own safety now. This is the supreme ordeal. This is the moment where you face the deepest fear. Not the fear of panic, not the fear of failure, but the fear of becoming someone new, the fear of stepping out of the family story, the fear of being alone in a way you've never been alone before. Because breaking the chain means becoming a stranger in your own family. It means choosing a different path. It means saying no to the story that has held your family together for generations. It means being willing to be misunderstood. It means being willing to be judged. It means being willing to stand alone if necessary. And you do it anyway. You choose the new story. You choose consciousness over unconsciousness. You choose authenticity over safety. You choose your own becoming over your family's comfort. And in that choice, something miraculous happens. The anxiety doesn't disappear, but it transforms. It becomes information instead of a prison. It becomes a signal instead of a sentence. It becomes a part of you that you can work with instead of something that works against you. Because now you understand what the anxiety is protecting. Now you understand that it's trying to keep you safe. Now you can thank it for its service and ask it to step back. Now you can say, I appreciate you. I understand why you're here, but I don't need you to protect me anymore. I can take care of myself, and your nervous system hears you. Your nervous system hears the consciousness. Your nervous system hears the choice. Your nervous system hears the forgiveness. And slowly, over time, it begins to believe you. It begins to learn a new baseline. It begins to learn that you are safe. It begins to learn that you can take risks. It begins to learn that you can be vulnerable. It begins to learn that you can be yourself without needing to be afraid. This is the climax. This is the moment where you face the deepest darkness and choose the light anyway. This is the moment where you die to the old self and are born into the new self. This is the moment where you break the chain. Sarah did this. She sat with the anxiety at 3 a.m. She felt it. She forgave. She chose. And her life changed. Not because the anxiety disappeared, but because she stopped running from it. She stopped fighting it. She stopped believing that it defined her. She became conscious of it, and that consciousness set her free. But here's what most people don't understand about this moment. This moment doesn't feel like freedom. This moment feels like death. This moment feels like you're losing everything. This moment feels like you're betraying your family. This moment feels like you're stepping into an abyss, because you are. You are dying. The old identity is dying. The old story is dying. The old way of being is dying. And there's nothing to catch you on the other side. There's no guarantee that the new self will be better. There's no guarantee that breaking the chain will make your life easier. There's no guarantee that consciousness will bring happiness. All you know is that you can't go back. All you know is that you've seen the truth. All you know is that you can't unsee it. All you know is that you have to choose, and you choose anyway. You choose to let the old self die. You choose to step into the abyss. You choose to become a stranger in your own family. You choose to break the chain. And in that moment of choosing, something shifts. The fear doesn't disappear, but it loses its grip. The anxiety doesn't vanish, but it becomes manageable. The panic doesn't stop, but you stop running from it. You stand still. You feel it. You breathe through it. You let it move through your body like a wave. And on the other side of the wave, there's something new. There's a sense of agency. There's a sense of power. There's a sense that you are not a victim of your own nervous system. You are not a victim of your family's story. You are not a victim of your inherited fear. The sun rises. It's 6 a.m. now. The night is over. The panic has passed. You're still in bed, but something has shifted. The weight that was pressing on your chest is lighter. Not gone, but lighter. You lie there for a moment and just breathe. Just feel. Just be. And you notice something. You notice that you survived. You survived the night. You survived the panic. You survived the confrontation with your deepest fear. And you're still here. You're still alive. You're still breathing. You're still you. But you're not the same person who went to bed last night. Something has changed. Something fundamental has shifted inside you. You get out of bed. You walk to the window. You open the curtains and let the light in. The morning light. The light of a new day. The light of a new beginning. And you see the world differently now. The world hasn't changed. The streets are the same. The trees are the same. The sky is the same. But you see them with new eyes. Eyes that have seen the darkness and chosen the light anyway. This is the return. This is the loop. The moment where you come home transformed. But the return is not what most people expect. The return is not a moment of perfect peace. The return is not a moment where all your problems disappear. The return is not a moment where you become enlightened and never struggle again. The return is the moment where you integrate what you've learned. The moment where you begin to live differently. The moment where you take the consciousness you've gained and apply it to your daily life. Sarah did this. She got out of bed. She took a shower. She made coffee. She went to work. She lived her life. But she lived it differently now. With consciousness, with choice, with awareness. And everything changed. Not because the external circumstances changed. Not because her job got better. Not because her family suddenly understood her. Not because the world became safer or easier. Everything changed because she changed. Because she stopped being a victim of her anxiety and became conscious of it. Because she stopped running from her fear and started standing with it. Because she stopped believing that her family's story was her story. But integration is not a one-time event. Integration is a daily practice. It's a moment-by-moment choice to stay conscious instead of falling back into unconsciousness. Because the old patterns want to come back. The old story wants to reassert itself. The old identity wants to reclaim you. And sometimes it does. Sometimes you wake up at 3 a.m. and the panic is back. Sometimes you feel the anxiety rising in your chest. Sometimes you catch yourself making the same old choices, the same old story. And in those moments, you have a choice. You can fall back into unconsciousness. You can pretend you didn't see what you saw. You can go back to running. You can go back to fighting. You can go back to believing that you are broken. Or you can stay conscious. You can remember what you learned. You can remember that the anxiety is a messenger. You can remember that you have choice. You can remember that you are breaking the chain. And you choose consciousness again. This is not a straight line. It's a spiral. You go down into the darkness. You face your deepest fear. You choose consciousness. You come back up into the light. You integrate what you've learned. You live differently for a while. And then, inevitably, something triggers the old pattern. Something brings up the old fear. Something challenges your new consciousness. And you spiral down again. But this time, you know the way. This time, you've been here before. This time, you know that the darkness is not permanent. You know that the panic will pass. You know that consciousness is waiting on the other side. Sarah knows this now. She knows that the anxiety will probably come back. She knows that there will be nights when she wakes up at 3 a.m. and feels the panic rising. She knows that there will be moments when she falls back into the old patterns. But she also knows something else. She knows that she can handle it. She knows that she has the tools. She knows that she has the consciousness. She knows that she can choose differently, and that changes everything. Because now the anxiety is not her enemy. It is information. It is a signal pointing back to the chain, reminding her that she is the one who can break it. You don't get rid of your anxiety. You transform your relationship with it. You don't eliminate your fear. You integrate it. You don't become a perfectly calm, perfectly peaceful, perfectly enlightened being. You become a conscious being, a being who can see the pattern, a being who can make choices, a being who can break the chain, and that is enough. The sun is fully up now. The day has begun. You have work to do. You have people to see. You have a life to live. But you're living it differently now, with consciousness, with choice, with awareness. And every moment is an opportunity to choose again. Every moment is an opportunity to stay conscious. Every moment is an opportunity to break the chain. When you break the chain, you give permission to everyone around you to break theirs. When you become conscious, you illuminate the path for others. When you transform your relationship with your anxiety, you show others that transformation is possible. Sarah's family doesn't understand her yet. They don't understand why she's making different choices. They don't understand why she's no longer playing the role they assigned to her. They don't understand why she's breaking the chain. But they will. Over time, they will see the change. They will see that she's lighter. They will see that she's more alive. They will see that she's free. And some of them will be quietly inspired. Some of them will start to question their own patterns. Some of them will start to break their own chains. The street lamp is off now. The sharp, cold angle of light across the bedroom floor is gone. There is only the morning, and the breath moving through your ribs, and the iron box you set down somewhere in the night.